Good morning. My name is David Clarkson and I'm the minister at Barclay Viewforth Church. Normally, when we've been thinking about lockdown, people have thought of the negative aspects of it, and we understand that. So many families have been affected by the death of a loved one. Some families have lost more than one member. The staff that we see, that we have clapped for and we have supported, have struggled with all of the issues that have surrounded the coronavirus. People have been lonely and felt isolated. We've missed friends and family. We've missed being able to physically contact and connect with each other. People have lost jobs, and there's more of that to come in the next few months, I think. It's been really difficult for people. And yet, there's been some good things about it. When congregations were told that they were to close and not be able to use their buildings, there was a huge surge in creativity as people worked out how to get online and how they might still have a service and produce something that people could join together for worship. Personally, I have found real joy and pleasure in cooking and in looking through our kitchen cupboards to see what's there. It's been really interesting, I have to say, finding those things that went out of date quite a long time ago and really needed to just be put away in the bin. I've found things that seemed like a good idea at the time. Little cases for poaching eggs, when actually you can just drop them in water and it works. Seemed like a good idea at the time, but actually now not going to the bin but to the charity shop, and somebody else might use them. Those phases that you go through in cooking, the Japanese stuff, the Thai stuff, the Indian curry stuff, and you have things left over from those times. You have the bottles or the jars stuck away in the back corners of cupboards. Reminders of times gone by. Sometimes really good, happy memories, thinking of times with friends and getting together. But actually what I've enjoyed is looking through those things and seeing what's there and working out what I can do with what we already have. Do you know, the shops are much better. The queues are not so long now when you go during the week. They're still well stocked and you can get all the stuff that you need. But partly because of lockdown and partly because we're hoping to move house and get across to Edinburgh at some point in the near future, we've been thinking about, clearing out and using some of those things that we've had in cupboards. We've had some really lovely meals. Simply using those things that are already there. And that made me think, because as church, we have been asked to think about the future. To think about what that future might look like. And there have been some really big questions in that. And it's made me think that we're going to have to do for church what we have done as a family for our cupboards. They're going to have to be cleaned out. We're going to have to decide what is useful and what is helpful, what we can celebrate, what is life affirming and life enhancing, what helps us to do the work of church in terms of mission and ministry. We need to look at the practical things around our buildings. We need to look at what's physically in the buildings, what's taking up that physical space, and ask ourselves, do we really need this in order to do the work that God has called us to do? Do we need the old tables, the slightly dodgy chairs? Could we change the door handle that you've got to just lift up a little bit and as you're turning it because it doesn't quite work otherwise, and then you see visitors coming and they can't get the door open and you think, well, Joe, why have we never changed that? But we're used to it. Those of us who come understand. And so are there also things like that that we get. Maybe we don't even get it, but we do it. We need to look at those things that we've always done and the way that we've always done it and actually understand that that's not true. It may have been done for 30 or 40 or even more years, but it wasn't always done that way. And can we actually tell why we do it that way? Is there a good reason? Maybe it's like our egg poachers. It seemed like a good idea at the time. And maybe it was right for a time, but is it right for now? There are lots of things that congregations up and down the country hold on to as being dear to them. But people outside would look at them and think, why'd you do that? What is that about? And maybe we need to think a little bit more about the people outside our buildings. You see, the future is not going to be the same as the past. It can't be. We've moved online and we did it very quickly and we did it without really asking for permission. We just knew that we had to do something and we acted. So we know we can do it. We know we can make big, dynamic changes across the church. And so why does it seem sometimes to take us months and months, maybe even years, to get some things done? Nobody said, oh, we better not do that. Mrs. McClumpha won't like it. Nobody said, oh, but there's somebody who won't do that or thinks this. Or... We just did it. We went online because that was the best option for us at the time. And do you know what? Very few people have complained. More people have come back and said, thanks for trying. Thanks for making an effort. Thanks for doing it. And so the future can't be the same as the past. We need to be more dynamic. We need to be more willing to just do things that are right and that are good and not need to get permission from everybody and anybody. And that might hurt somebody's feelings, and you know that is sad. We don't want to do that. We don't want to go out of our way to do that. But actually the truth is sometimes it's the not hurting somebody's feelings because we think they might object that holds us back. But I've been told twice since coming to Barclay Viewforth that somebody might disagree, only to find it's the opposite, only to find that they are really keen to make changes and do things that I've been told they were against. We need to communicate, we need to respond, we need to explain, but we need to move, we need to think, we need to plan, we need to prepare. The Kirk session has a number of questions that we need to think about over these next weeks. And I just want to read them to you so you get an understanding of what they're to consider and to plan for and think through. And this is taken from a document that's been produced from the central offices of the church in Edinburgh for us to think about in preparation for getting back. It says Kirk Sessions and the wider congregation may wish to discuss, number one, what place does a physical dedicated church building have in the ongoing missional strategy of your congregation? We're even questioning the place of the building. That's huge. Looking back is question 2. Over this period of lockdown, what innovation has been seen? Question 3. What might be kept? How might that alter the focus of congregational life moving into a post-pandemic phase? Question 4. In relation to church, what feelings of loss have been articulated in the congregation and the community? And the last one, how might the Kirk Session prayerfully consider and evaluate what aspects of pre-lockdown church might be restarted to enable relations to continue and to grow? You see, it's not just about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Some of the stuff I found in the corners of the cupboard were worth keeping. And lots of things about church in the past is worth keeping. It's worth rejoicing in. It's worth celebrating and telling people, this is fantastic. We love it. Church is good. But some of it just needs to go. We need wisdom to work out which is which. And so you might be watching this just because it was on YouTube and you happened to glance at it. Maybe you don't have any relation to our church. Maybe you don't come to church and you don't believe anything about God or any of that. Do you know what? I would love to hear from you about what you think churches might do in order to help the community around them. Maybe you're a member. And if you are, we'd ask you to pray. We'd ask you to pray for the Kirk Session, for the elders, for the leaders in the congregation. That as they think and plan and prepare, they would listen for God's voice and follow His plans and purposes. That they would know what needs to be kept and strengthened and encouraged, and they would know what needs to be left behind, so that we can do God's will in our congregation and in our community. Because that's what we're called to do. But we know we can't do it on our own. We need your prayers, your encouragement, your enthusiasm, your passion and your commitment. And we need God. God to lead us, to guide us, to support us, to challenge us, to help us. So, we'd ask you to think and to pray. Speak to your elder. Give them your ideas and your thoughts, so that we can work together to find a way forward into whatever the future holds for us. Thanks for listening.